Good evening, everyone. I am Myra, part of the wellness crew here at NIU, and I'm here with Julie, who is a graduate assistant for the wellness team. So let's begin. So today's presentation is going to be on connecting with others during this pandemic. Connecting with others is something that many people are struggling with due to today's circumstances. So let's start off talking about wellness. So when you think about wellness, you may think about physical and emotional wellness, like taking care of yourself. There are actually 7 dimensions of wellness that contribute to your overall wellness. On today's presentation, we will be focusing on emotional and social wellness. So looking at this quote, when it says humans are social creatures, we have a need for connecting and to be social. So why do we connect with others? So thinking back on the last quote, answers may be to be social, to feel supported, or to build and develop relationships. So what are some ways we connect with others? For some of us, it may be in person, like virtually, physically being with others. Others may be virtually, FaceTiming, texting, going through Zoom calls. Others may use creative ways like writing letters, playing video games, video chatting, any of that kind of things. So, what does connecting with others mean to you? For some, it may be spending time with others, having some quality time, doing activities together. Others may be social, like in person or virtually. Um, and others may be building relationships, like maintaining and strengthening the ones you have or creating new ones. Now, let's talk about relationships. So, what is a relationship? A relationship is a connection between two people. And how does how we connect with others differ from relationship to relationship? So I'm going to explain how connecting with others looks different according to each type of relationship. So first, let's talk about forms of communication. For example, um, texting versus emailing. You usually won't be texting your teacher, but you may text your friend. Um, Next will be language and topics, which some may be formal or informal. You may be more professionally speaking to teachers or bosses, but with your friends, you may use more slang. Uh, Another form of language could be personal or guarded, which you may act more of yourself around your friends, but at school or work, you may be more professional. Next is trust, which influence a lot in relationship and takes time to develop. Honesty is directly related to trust, and it can also negatively impact your relationship if one is being dishonest. And lastly, intimacy. Intimacy brings specific closeness with one another. It changes dynamics in a relationship. And now let's move on. So now I'm going to be discussing qualities of unhealthy and healthy relationships. Starting off with the unhealthy relationships. And some of these qualities may be like isolation and exclusion, which is when you are being controlled in what you do and who you talk to. Others can be peer pressure, like being threatened to expose another's weakness or spread lies to get you to do whatever they want. An example of this may be someone saying, if you don't do what I say, I'm going to tell everyone about what you did. They may also use emotional abuse. Some examples of this would be verbal abuse, gaslighting, which is when someone makes you feel like you're crazy, they make you feel guilty, and they play mind games. Some may also use social status. This is when one person is in charge of the relationship and has the final say. An example can be like, I make more money than you. You need to do whatever I say. Others may use intimidation, which is when a person uses language, like body language, to intimidate you into doing whatever they want, smashing things, destroying property, punching walls, breaking phones, anything destructive. Uh, it some like minimize, deny, and blame can also be used. Some may use minimized emotions or thoughts and not take blame for their own actions. Others can use threats as well, which is like threatening to carry out a behavior to hurt someone, threatening to hurt themselves because you don't do something, making someone drop charges. An example of this may be someone saying, if you don't come home right now, you're gonna regret it or be sorry. Others may use sexual coercion, which may be manipulating or threatening others to engage in sexual behaviors, getting someone intoxicated in order to engage in sexual behaviors, uh, getting someone pregnant or having yourself become pregnant just to get whatever you want. Um, and then now let's talk about healthy relationships. In a healthy relationship, there's negotiation and fairness. You may resolve a conflict in mutually satisfying ways. There's compromise from both parties. There's also non-threatening behavior, like people communicate and act in a way where they feel safe and comfortable in expressing themselves. There's also respect, respect from each other's opinions and beliefs. There's trust and support. You trust each other's goals in life and you respect each other's um, autonomy. Honesty and accountability is also into play. You accept responsibilities for your own behavior and for yourselves. People also acknowledge what they're doing wrong. They can communicate openly and truthfully. There's also self-confidence and personal growth. People feel secure in their own worth. There is encouragement of individual growth and freedom. There's also shared power, which is decisions that are made together. There's mutual responsibility for the relationships, and there's also communication. There's open and spontaneous dialogue. There's a balance of giving and receiving. Relationships is not one-sided. So now let's talk about consent. So what is consent? Consent is permission. So you shouldn't be assuming the other person is okay with it. It is clear, informed, voluntary agreement. It's not silence or lack of silence. It cannot be given if someone cannot respond. It is active and ongoing. It must be obtained for every action and can be withdrawn at any time. So now I'm going to head it over to Julie to finish off the presentation with strategies about how to connect with others during this pandemic.
Hello, everyone. And just so you know, if you ever have any questions or comments you'd like to make, just go ahead and put it in the chat box, and we'll be happy to answer any questions or highlight on any comments. So to start off, I'm going to be talking about social isolation and COVID-19. So first off, what exactly is social isolation? So this is when an individual experiences a lack of connection with others, and this is something that a lot of people have been experiencing due to the pandemic. So, and if you are experiencing this, just know you're not alone. A lot of people are. So, actually, increased feelings of anxiety and depression and stress during this time are extremely common. So there's an organization called Active Minds, and they raise awareness for mental health. They completed a study that found that a lot of other students are feeling socially isolated and lonely. So let's look at the numbers. 1 in 4 students have reported their depression has significantly increased, and 89% of college students have reported that coronavirus has caused them stress or anxiety. And lastly, 78% of college students have reported feelings of loneliness and isolation. So if you really are looking at those numbers, it's a large portion of college students who took the survey. So how might you know if you are experiencing this and how the social isolation is affecting you. So let's start talking about it. So social isolation can lead to loneliness, which overall increases your levels of stress. And so with the increase of stress, your fight or flight response is activated, which is going to negatively impact your immune system. And so this is going to cause a weaker immune system, and that alone is going to cause you to get more ill and probably impact how sick you get. And so next, the stress you are experiencing, it also negatively impacts your sleep quality. So when you're more stressed, you sleep worse. And you may experience increased feelings of anxiety and depression. You may experience poor self-care, so you're not taking care of yourself as well as you used to. And you may also be experiencing feelings of despair. And so by this I mean you may have the thought process of, oh, this is never going to change. We're going to have to live like this forever. Next, strategies to cope with symptoms of social isolation. And I'm also going to be discussing some ideas to connect with others. So to start off, if you do choose to connect with others in person during this time, I want to provide you with some information on the risks you may have of COVID-19 that you can use to make your decisions. So know your risks. So first, let's talk about the lowest risk of transmission. And so in general, in-person social gatherings are going to increase your risk for transmission. And so you may get infected and you may spread the virus. So the lowest type of risk it is attending virtual only activities, events, and gatherings. There's more risk if you attend small outdoor gatherings spaced at least 6 feet apart and everyone's wearing masks and you do not share any type of object. There's a higher risk if you attend medium-sized gatherings and maintain a 6 feet distance. And the highest risk is a large in-person gathering where it's difficult to maintain a 6 feet distance. And so if you are attending bars, parties, concerts, all that stuff. So if you do choose to connect with others in person, here are some ways to do this in a safer way. First off, stay home if you are sick. And even though it is cold and flu season currently, it's better to be safe. So just acknowledge your symptoms. If you're feeling off, just try to stay home. Wear a mask and try to remain 6 feet apart from others as best as you can. Do not share any food, drinks, or vapes just to avoid that contact. And wash your hands as often as well as you are able to. So sometimes it may not be possible and you may not have access to a bathroom. In that case, just try to keep some hand sanitizer on you at all times. So now I'm going to be discussing tips on how to connect with others. So the first one I would like to discuss is to connect with others in places you already go to. So if you are already going to these places, you are probably seeing a lot of the same people, especially if you go at the same time each day. And so you can go ahead and spark conversations with those who are in those places. And I just want to acknowledge this can be extremely difficult right now due to the circumstances. People might not want to talk as much, and just acknowledge you're doing your best, and your best each day is going to look different. So one example of this one is that I do go to the gym and I wear a mask and everything, but I do see people there. And so I kind of started to develop a gym friendship with some people just because we're at the same place each day. It's a good, hey, how are you doing? Good, how are you? And it's just nice, especially if you have not been having the normal communication as you normally would. Another example is I go to Starbucks a lot, and every day I see the same two people there. So maybe next time I'll go ahead and spark a conversation. And the next one is to use your current situation to spark conversations. So an example of this is if you do have to go into your place of employment or you have an in-person class, that is a perfect opportunity to start a conversation with someone. And one example of sparking a conversation in person at your place of work, you can go ahead and ask a coworker to join you in a socially distanced lunch. Or if you're in line in a grocery store or a Walgreens or some other place, and you notice someone who's wearing a Husky shirt or an NIU shirt, just try and use that topic to connect. The next one is to make time to be social. And so this can be really difficult, especially when the weather is like this, it's very cold, very rainy. We want to be indoors usually and bundled up in a blanket, just watching TV. So overall, every day our responsibilities consume our days. And so just hanging out on the couch and watching TV, it seems like it's an ideal type of situation. And this is genuinely okay. It's okay to just want to be a couch potato. I personally am. I love it. But it's also important to set some time out of your day outside of your responsibilities to connect with others. And lastly, check in with your support systems because they may be experiencing the same thing that you are. So some types of supports you may have, and you don't have to have all of them, are your parents, your siblings, your friends, a counselor or therapist, a community advisor, a trusted professor, and there are a bunch of other ones too. So if you have any ideas, please go ahead and put it in the comments because then we can share it with others. And so next, if you would prefer the virtual ways to connect, here are some ideas on how to connect with others. So a phone call or FaceTime, it goes a long way, especially if you're like me and you usually have your phone in your hand. It can be pretty easy to just pick up the phone and call someone. Another one is to have a Netflix watch party. If you have a subscription, you can go ahead and create a room together and watch the same show or movie together, especially around the spooky season. There's lots of good ones on there. There is a house party app, and this is an app where you are able to virtually play games with the other people who have the app. And so you can go ahead and create a house party in a room, and you can play games like Uno. There are lots of card games on there, and it's kind of set up for like FaceTime, but with games. There is a Watch Together streaming service, and this is a service where you are able to watch TV, movies, and videos all together at the same time. And lastly, you can go ahead and have a Zoom or Teams meeting with others around you. And so here's some creative ways to connect. So first off, there are online board games. And so you can actually just try and Google online board games, and then you can copy and paste a link to your friends, your family, whoever you want to play with, and you can all play a board game virtually. There is Steam, and this is a computer video game store, and they have free games on there to download. There is Discord, which is a service online for community chat rooms. And so if you are a fan of an artist or a game or a podcast or something like that, you're able to actually go on Discord and chat with others who have this interest with you. You can go ahead and write letters to your friends, and you may even start a pen pal service. And so even if it's a neighbor or something like that, just go ahead and write them a letter and see how it goes. And lastly, create an online book club. I've seen an increase in popularity of this, of people starting an online book club, and either they all read the same book at the same time, or they all take turns reading different books, and then they just exchange them. So here are more tips on fighting the effects of social isolation. So the first one is going to be to create a healthy routine. Creating a routine allows you to have some type of control over your life. So there's a lot that we are not in control of currently just due to the pandemic, and that is the reality. And though it's unfortunate, we can take control of our life and our routines. By creating a healthy routine, it can create a sense of normalcy and put you back in power. The next one is to find your sources of comfort. And by this, do things that help you de-stress and provide you with comfort. So this may be reading a book, taking a bath, going to the gym, practicing some yoga and meditation, keeping your space clean and organized, and also engaging in behaviors that align with your goals and values. And so if reading, if it provides you with comfort, go ahead and do that. Or does giving back provide you with comfort? Try to research places in town who are accepting volunteers. And of course, this is all up to your comfort level during this time, during the pandemic. And I think it's important to ask yourself, so what makes me feel better when I'm feeling this way? And is it something I can do long term? And lastly, plan for the future. I know you're all probably just kind of listening to this like, what is this girl talking about? Because right now it's just a pandemic, and that is okay. But the reality is that even though we don't exactly know what the future is looking like, it's important to remind ourselves all of this is temporary. And we know that because pandemics have happened before and we have gotten through it previously. And even though normal, it might be kind of different in a year, in 6 months, it will still get better at some point, and this is temporary. And so I say plan that vacation, plan that wedding if you're getting married, or plan a getaway, plan a road trip. Because all of these things can give you a way to look forward to the future. And it can be kind of exciting to create plans or with your friends, your family, whoever you do it with. It's a great opportunity to connect with others. And this is also a reminder, normal is coming. And even though it might not be the old normal, it will be as normal as it can be. So here are some ways to learn about some social events on campus. So you can go ahead and follow the NIU departments and organizations on social media because they often post virtual events or webinars, etc. On social media. Another good option is to check out the NIU calendar. So a lot of organizations and events will be posted there, and there you can find out details, times, and ways to RSVP. You can read the Monday morning announcements, and so this is an email you receive every Monday, just with updates and everything like that. There are mission wellness articles, and we provide a number of different topics on wellness information, and also we just posted one as well for an event we are actually planning for next week. It is a Halloween themed event called Halloween, a 4-day event. And it's Monday through Thursday, and we're going to be doing great virtual events. And if you'd like more information on that, just go ahead and let us know and we can send it to you. Another one is to join a class of your graduating year on Facebook, along with Huskies of NIU Facebook pages. That's a great way to connect with others who may be in the same age range as you and just see what they're up to. And lastly, talk with those around you and see how they're staying connected on campus. Here are some resources on and off campus I'd like to share with you. So if you are finding that the effects of social isolation are becoming too much for you, or you just feel like you really need to talk to someone about this stuff, you as an NIU student do have access to the counseling training center on campus, and that is free of charge. And then there's also the counseling and consultation services. They have therapists and psychiatrists, etc. You have access to all of that as a student. or an employee. There is a safe passage that is a domestic violence a shelter and crisis hotline. There's a suicide hotline, the CDC hotline. There's a domestic violence hotline if you are experiencing or have questions about any type of intimate partner violence. There's the NIU Recreation Center, NIU Wellness, Who's Us, Husky Link and student organizations, and the NIU resource centers. So that is going to conclude our presentation today. So of course, here is the rest of the presentations that we are doing every Monday at 4 p.m. aside from next week, just because we have our Halloween going on. So here are all of those. And lastly, please take our survey. We would very much appreciate it. And if you could go ahead and tell us what we're doing well or any type of thing you would like to see from us, either virtually or in person. It's great to hear from those who attend, and we very much appreciate it. So I will go ahead and copy and paste this link in there as well in the chat. And like I said, if you have any questions, comments, concerns, or you just want more information, just go ahead and chat me, okay? Thanks.